Whenever you're looking to buy anything, it's really important that you research not only what other things like it are selling for, but what is the market around it. For example, this is a Vein Ripper card from Magic the Gathering. Right now, this looks like just a plain card. But if I observe the market, I can actually sell this for about $24 to $25 right now. Well, when it comes to not just cards, but houses, this is really crucial. And one of the biggest channels that are pushing housing data right now, or have pushed for the last few years, is Reventure Consulting. Now, you might have recognized his thumbnails or his videos because he's been one of the top players when it comes to housing data. And honestly, I'm very grateful for it. He's forced buyers to have a different perspective about their house. And at the end of the day, any kind of exposure to that is a good thing. But is this data actually accurate? This weekend, I had somebody who came fully educated and prepared using his application and got all the data for a specific zip code in a house that they were looking to buy. And they asked me to look at this data for them. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the conclusions that were made from the data using his app, and we're going to compare it to the actual data. Now, I'm not sure where he gets his data from, but I'm getting my data from the MLS. Now, at the end of the day, regardless of what you think about real estate agents, they're the ones that have access to the MLS, and therefore we have access to the actual pure data. I wish there was a way that nationally everyone could access every MLS's data, because there's like hundreds of them out there for different cities, counties, and states. Now, the conclusions that were made from his data was that the sales inventory in this zip code were back to the pre-pandemic level. The inventory surplus / deficit was back to the pre-pandemic level. The price cut percentages has been the highest since 2017, and the days on market has been the highest since 2017. Let's start off with number one. Now, here we have the active listing counts, or the inventory counts, for the zip code that we're focusing on. Remember, on the app as well, that's what they're focusing on as well. So we can see here, of course, our inventory counts are definitely high, but what was said, it was back to pre-pandemic levels. Now we can see here, the pandemic started around, I would say, well, really it was like what, March or April when that started going, it really ticked up here. And then we started seeing inventories just completely go down. And this is the period where prices just really ballooned. Pre-pandemic though, we can see, you just scroll back here. Now, this is the part that gets a little fishy though, because like, can I go further? Like pre-pandemic is such a huge range. It's like from the beginning of the time until 2020. So has inventory in this zip code ever been higher than 42? I'm sure it has, but focusing on just this specific zip code, I mean, we can go back as far as 2018, 2019, and even if the inventory went that high, we still saw prices go up, right? I can go 2019, yeah, technically it was higher than we are. No, actually, no, it wasn't even as high as we are now. So we were higher than that point. So we can go as far as 2017, and we do get a point where for just slightly, it went higher. So technically it is back to pre-pandemic level. Now, the next one is the inventory surplus / deficit. I'm not sure if this was my client's wording or if that's the wording on the app, but essentially, it's a term used to describe the balance between supply of houses versus the demand from buyers. This is not a term that we usually use. We usually use to at least analyze that is months of supply. To calculate that, you divide the number of homes currently for sale by the number of homes sold per month. So for example, if you had 100 houses for sale and about 50 monthly sales, and you would have about 2 months of supply right there. And traditionally, 6 months of supply means it's a balanced market. More than 6 months indicates it's more of a buyer's market with more homes available to buyers, and less than 6 months supply indicates a deficit of a home, suggesting a seller's market. Now, I don't know about those last terms because 6 months, I haven't seen that in a while, but anywho, that's what we usually use. So in this term, I'm going to be using the months of supply numbers. Months of supply, like for example, right now we're at 2.4. And we can see here, during the time where values just completely shot up, we were under 1. We can see here when prices went down for a bit, we were around 3 or 4. So I would say right now the metric is probably if you're at 4+, it's when it gets a little spooky. It could be completely different for yours. So the thing is it's back to pre-pandemic level. Once again, pre-pandemic level is 2019 until the beginning of time. Right now we're at 2.4, technically lower than some of these spikes we've seen. Now, something interesting to note here is when it comes to months of supply, you're going to see there's always 2 spikes in a year. There's always going to be a spike around February, March, and there's always going to be a spike around the end of the year right here, right? So that's the common thing. We're going to see a spike March, April. We're going to see a spike towards the end of the year. So when months of supply numbers goes up, that means that houses stay on the market longer, or there's more listings for sale, or there's less buyer demand, as we saw here during the increase. And when things are really on the lower side, this is when they're staying on the market less time, therefore there is more demand and where houses are selling for more. This is a very natural thing to see. We see them go up February, March, and you can see this happen over and over. End of the year, beginning of the year. End of the year, beginning of the year. It's always like clockwork around then. Obviously, this time is when it was a little different, but we can see here, this is our end of the year little bump right here. And now we're barely getting into our like mid bump here. And at 2.4, the back to pre-pandemic level, once again, accurate, but is it the highest it's ever been where it's like completely alarming? No. Actually, I did find another little chart where it shows a little more, it goes further back in time. 2022, we can see here, this is when prices really skyrocketed. We're at 7.6. This one is excluding under contract and backup homes. So it does kind of mess with the numbers a bit more. And we can see here 2021 is when they were super low. We were under zero, right? 0.3, 0.5. That's kind of crazy. So now, is it back to pre-pandemic level? Technically, pandemic started around March area. Yeah, technically right here, we're past that 2019 is pre-pandemic and we were at that level. But if you start adding all the other months when the market was somewhat semi-normal, you can even see in 2016, the months of supply was even higher than what we are today. So 2016, it didn't mean that the market was in a crash or anything like that. We were still very much increasing in value. So I gotta say, it's probably, I would say, not accurate. Yes, we are pre-pandemic level, but we're not like at the spikes. Yes, we are pre-pandemic, but we're not nearly any of these spikes where things get scary, because the more months of supply, the things scary you get, right? So we're not quite there yet. We can see here when we were recovering, when the market completely collapsed on us, you can see here when the values were completely tanked, we were at 5.2, right? And we're not there or even close to any of the peaks that we've seen over the last 10 years. Our next metric is price cut percentage, and it's the highest it's been since 2017. So let me just plug in the zip code real quick. All right, so here is a number of price changes. So basically anything, if it's a minimum amount of $100 that changes, it marks it as a listing that decreased in price. And we're looking only at the specific zip code, and we can broaden out a little more to the actual city if we can, so we can get kind of two ideas of the numbers. And just looking at just the zip code, we can see here that there's probably about 27 right now over the last 4 weeks that have a price cut. This number says it's the price cut percentage. It's the highest it's been since 2017. And this one is just going to be a flat out wrong one, because we can see here even in November 2023, there was a price cut. And here there's higher price cuts in 2022. And once again, you're going to notice a very similar trend. There's a higher amount of price cuts around the summertime, wintertime, summertime, wintertime. And it looks like here we're just in that summertime price cut boost here, but we're nowhere near the highest. And it says here clear as day, highest it's been since 2017. That's just not accurate. 2017, we can even go back further here, go as far as 2015, and we can see here at 26. Technically 2019 had 35, which was higher. 35 in 2017, higher in 34. So we're not as the highest it's been. It was higher about a year ago, and it was higher about 2 years ago. Right now, we're kind of neck and neck where we usually are. Like here, mid-May 2019, 35, we're actually less. We have less listings going with price adjustments right now than we did in the past few years. So this one is just not accurate. I'm not sure how that conclusion was made, but it's just not right on this one. Last but not least is the days on market is the highest it's been since 2017. This one's pretty easy to track. We're going to go back to 2015. You can see here currently our days on market is 57.1, and literally 2 months ago our days on market was 94.2. So just so you know how this gets marked is when a house closes, however long it's been on the market, that gets dinged, right? And gets an average of all of them at the moment. So we can see that literally just a quarter ago, we had a higher days on market. And going back, we can see moments of last year where it was higher than 57.1. Here's the golden years where the valleys went complete crazy. We were about like averaging 13 to like 8, 27, 25. And we can see here, there's, of course, back in 2017 and 18, there's a lot of more months. As a matter of fact, 2017 had a way higher, January had 130 days on the market. So we're clearly not near, we're about there, but we're not clearly near as at the top or the highest it's been since 2017. If it was higher, then we would see this giant boost right here, completely higher than everything else. If I do all of the city, not just that specific zip code, it fares a little better, but still quite not there. We can still assess that in 2023, there was a higher days on market. Even a quarter, 2 months ago, it was higher days on market. And there's certain periods where the days on market is higher too. But once again, what's being said is that the days on market is the highest it's been since 2017. That one is also factually incorrect. So listen, at the end of the day, data is data, right? I can see how the first two are left to interpretation could be accurate because pre-pandemic levels is a very vague term. And technically, yeah, those numbers were at some point the same level as we were in the pre-pandemic at certain months and certain periods of the year. But when it starts saying it's the highest it's been since 2017, it's the highest since these terms. Now, this is where it's dangerous. I think the key takeaway of this video is two things. One, whenever you're watching any data video, you really want to make sure you understand where the data is being sourced from. Is it being sourced from Realtor.com, Zillow.com? Because a lot of these guys that make housing market videos will look at a Redfin article or Zillow article, and they'll go with that and make these conclusions based off of that. You want to understand where the data is coming from, and you want to also ask, what is this data? Is this like national data or is this local data? Because at the end of the day, you can look at national data, make assumptions, but you want to look individually, specific cities. Let me just show you something really quick. I don't have time to put the green screen up, so you're just going to have to deal with my background here. Granted, you can't make a general assumption just by looking at an average sales price chart. I give you that. But this is just to show you how drastic markets look. Gilbert, Arizona, climbing. Almost actually already past the point of that massive pandemic craze of the interest rates going up. Chandler is right next door, literally like 5 minutes from it. That's not a massive spike anymore. That's more like a, and it's kind of like, kind of teetering off, right? So just two cities right next to each other have a vastly different sales price and projection of what's going on. So you think even if I look at general Phoenix data, do you think the same story applies for someone buying in Gilbert versus someone buying in Chandler? There's just a bigger story to this. I don't think there's any bad intention when data isn't presented accurately. I think, like I said in the beginning, there's a genuine attempt to help people with data and help them understand what they're buying. And I think this is great because overall, there's not many tools for people out there. Not everyone has a real estate license to be able to access, hey, what is this house worth? Can I see other houses that sold in the area? I know there's certain states like Texas that you can't even see what houses sell for. It's like crazy. I totally get that. And anybody that brings any kind of value like this should definitely be praised. I love the fact that you can get an idea of what the market looks like using this app that he has, and then you can present it to someone to just verify that. I think that's totally valid. Yes, you're going to have to talk to a real estate agent. I know, I get it. You guys don't want to. I wish it wasn't that way too. I wish you can access the data without an agent, but for right now, people who have access to the MLS are licensed real estate agents. So unless you want to go get your own license, which you're totally welcome to, right now, that's the only way you can verify the data, but it's worth your time to do that. And one last thing to be aware of, everyone has a bias. Even me here talking. I'm a real estate agent. I know you guys, you probably already have like, oh gosh, this guy's trying to make me buy a house, get your protection wall up, ready. Like, I get that. You also have to understand that applies to both sides, right? Like these channels that focus on the housing market get a lot of views. And if you're not aware of how the ad revenue works, especially for someone who makes real estate housing videos, our CPM is a lot bigger than most people. One of these big housing market YouTubers at one point made a video saying that they were going to take a break from YouTube. And for a split second, you could see what their monthly ad revenue was. And it was like $60,000 plus a month. Now ask yourself this. If YouTube were to pay you $50,000 plus a month to push a specific narrative, whether you believe or don't believe in it, would you do it? I don't blame them. We all got to feed our family. But yes, a lot of times agents get a lot of the flack of like, there's a preconceived notion that you want to sell and buy houses, you want to help. So you're going to give me data that supports you. But let's reflect that the other way too. Let's reflect that to those that are just pushing the other narrative, because odds are they're getting some fat ad revenue checks. And odds are they'll probably have sponsorship links in their description that they're making a ton of money from. So have that same energy for both sides and make a educated voice, educated information on it. So like this client, for example, my client took my perspective, took my data, got their data and their perspective, and they made a conclusion on their own. That's a mix of both of them. At the end of the day, we all have the shared, if there's a Venn diagram, I think we all want to help people. I think we all want to help people make better decisions. Like I said from the beginning, this isn't to be negative or positive. This is just to inform you guys and remind you guys, it doesn't matter who or what is your favorite personality. Make sure to look up data. That's the first valuable step. And B, make sure to verify it. Thank you guys.